What's up, YouTube? I hope each and every one of you guys are healthy and enjoying life today. In today's video, I'm going to be telling you guys why the car behind me is the best car that you guys can go out and buy for $10,000. And the best way that I can kind of convey or get that point across is to do a review style video. So this is a 2005 Lexus LS430, and this car was bought by high-level CEOs, high-level executives, or just people with high-paying jobs, because this was a high-dollar vehicle back in 2005. The original MSRP was $70,174, which translates to $110,088 in today's money. But we're going to talk about the exterior paint color, then we'll work our way down and around to the back end of the LS, and then we'll work our way to the performance and into the interior. So this particular Lexus LS430 has been painted in mercury metallic, which is basically a silver paint color with a metallic flake. But starting over here with our headlights, you do get an adaptive front lighting system, also known as AFS, with self-leveling HID headlights. One thing that's pretty cool about these headlights is that they move when you turn the steering wheel. So if you move the steering wheel to the left, they'll move to the left. If you move the steering wheel to the right, they will move to the right. Just below your headlights, you will find your headlight washers, as well as these forward-facing sensors. So you do get 6 forward-facing sensors total on the front bumper, and those headlight washers and front sensors go a part of the $11,320 ultra luxury package, which basically makes this thing fully loaded and basically like Lexus's version of the S-Class and or the 7 Series BMW. And then towards the bottom of the front bumper is where you will find your halogen fog lights. If you guys do like this body style is from 2003 to 2006, and this is the 3.5 gen LS, which in my opinion looks better than its successor, which is the 4th gen Lexus LS. This is basically like a mid-cycle refresh of the 3rd generation Lexus LS. But working our way to the wheel and tire setup, this particular one has 18-inch 5-spoke wheels wrapped in 245/45 Michelin Pilot Sport all-season tires. These tires look really sweet. You guys can see the tread pattern. Maybe you guys can't see the tread pattern on these tires, but always a Michelin looks really good on pretty much any vehicle. But also with that ultra luxury package, you do get adaptive air suspension. However, this particular one had this air suspension go out at around 150,000 miles, to which the previous owner replaced it with TN or teen coilovers. So even with coilovers, this thing still rides very, very well. And also I feel like it handles better without the air suspension. So I never drove one of these with the air suspension, but this thing handles surprisingly well for it being, you know, pretty much a boat. But one thing that's also pretty cool is that you do get rain sensing wipers. The rain sensing wipers are standard with the Lexus LS, as well as a water repellent windshield. So basically you guys can think of the standard windshield. This one has a replacement windshield, but the standard windshield had basically like a ceramic coating put on it from the factory. It's not actually a ceramic coating, but that's the best way that I can describe it to you. Lexus calls it a water repellent windshield. Pretty cool. And then you obviously get some pinstriping and some chrome trim at the bottom of your doors and on your front fenders, basically just to jazz up the look of the LS. Coming around the side, let's take a look at these mirrors. So these mirrors actually are power folding. They are also heated, and they are auto tilting when you guys put this thing in reverse. And then at the bottom of them, you will find a puddle light. And then let's do a little side profile of the LS. This thing still looks really good considering, you know, it's a 20-year-old vehicle now. This one's 18, but it's a 2003 to 2006 body style. So it's, you know, pretty much 20 years old. Now, one thing that I thought was really, really cool about this particular Lexus LS is that when you guys open up the door and you guys don't shut it all the way, it has soft closing doors, which is really sweet, especially considering this thing is 20 years old. So that is pretty insane. Another really cool thing is that this does get smart access. So both those soft closing doors and smart access, which doesn't work on this particular one, both are a part of the ultra luxury package. And then one more thing that I thought was pretty cool that you guys can do with the key fob is that if you guys press the button right here twice and hold, all the windows as well as the sunroof will open up. So you can see all the windows are going down and the sunroof is opening up. So I think that is pretty freaking sweet, again, for a 20-year-old vehicle. And that's pretty sweet even for a vehicle of today's day and age. But working our way all the way to the back end, you do get LED taillights, as well as you have a backup camera right here and more rear view sensors back here as well. So you get 4 sensors in the back, 1, 2, 3 and 4, and both those sensors and the backup camera are also a part of the ultra luxury package. You also get a dual exhaust. And then one thing I wanted to point out is that when you guys open up the trunk, I'm going to open it up from the interior here. I did want to point out that there is less trunk space than I honestly expected it to. I'm not going to keep the trunk open for too long because there's a bunch of stuff back here. So you guys can see trunk space, you know, it's not the biggest trunk. I did expect a bigger trunk, especially considering, you know, this is the flagship or the biggest Lexus sedan that you guys can buy. However, considering all the other features that you get, that's really like not that big of a deal. But let me know what you guys think of the exterior of the LS. But let's move into performance. Popping open the hood reveals that 4.3 liter V8 that makes 290 horsepower and 320 pound-feet of torque. It is mated to a 6-speed automatic transmission, and if you guys were wondering about fuel economy, you can achieve 16 miles per gallon in the city, 23 miles per gallon on the highway for 18 miles per gallon combined with rear-wheel drive. One thing that's pretty cool that I just noticed is that you guys get the engine code right there. So this is a 3UZ. Pretty sweet. Let's close that hood and move into the interior. All right, guys, before we move into the interior, if you guys are enjoying the video so far today, please be sure to give this video a big thumbs up. Please hit that subscribe button. I'm really trying to hit 10,000 subscribers, and I cannot do that without your guys' help. So I greatly appreciate it. If you guys would take a second, give the video a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. But let's move into the interior. Like I said, with the ultra luxury package, you do get keyless access, or they call it smart access, but that does not work on this particular vehicle. So to move into the interior, press the unlock button and the vehicle will obviously unlock. Taking a look at the interior door panel, one thing that I thought was pretty cool is that you do get 3 memory seat adjustment settings, but this particular one has also been optioned with the $2,100 interior upgrade package with black semi-aniline leather trim, which I believe gives you like this kind of stuff. I'm not 100% sure because I couldn't find out online from, you know, the different forums and stuff that I was reading, but just wanted to point that out. Obviously 3 memory seat adjustment settings. You get automatic up and down windows at all 4 corners. One thing that I also thought was pretty cool is that this like opens and closes, so if you need easier access to something, you can open that up, grab it, and then once you don't need access to it, you can close that back off. But let's move into the interior because there's a pretty cool button on the door panel that I wanted to show you guys. So to start the vehicle, all you got to do is put this little Mercedes looking key thing in the ignition, push and twist to the right, and the vehicle will fire up. Again, I wanted to show you guys this cool button right here. So if you press on this button, watch what happens right here. That goes up, that goes down. So you, if you guys don't want to like click those 2 things like you would on any other vehicle to move that up and down, there's a button for that right there. That's a pretty sweet feature in my personal opinion. And then I'm going to turn the climate off because of the sound, which is probably going to make it pretty hot on the interior here, but anyway, that's besides the point. I'm going to turn that off. And then here are your mirror adjustment controls. This right here, you guys press like right here, that will power fold in your side view mirrors. So that's a pretty cool thing on a vehicle from 2005. This is to turn your parking sensors, both front and rear, on or off. This is to turn your adaptive front lighting system on or off. So basically, if you guys don't want the lights to turn with the steering wheel, you can turn that feature on or off by the push of that button. And then down here, you have your button to open up the gas cap, as well as the button to open up your trunk. This does have a power tilting and telescoping steering wheel. However, on this particular one, the tilt function does not work. However, it still will come towards you and go away from you. So pretty cool also to have that on a vehicle from 2005. Obviously, you have your headlight control stock, you have your windshield wiper control stock on that side as well. With the ultra luxury package, you also get voice activated navigation, which are these buttons located right here. So that is for your voice activated navigation system. Got your volume buttons and stuff like that. This is to switch between like your AM, FM, and all those different types of sources. And then this is to go back on a track or forward on a track, or dependent on if you have preset radio stations, you can skip between those with that. And then you have these buttons on this side of the steering wheel. So display 1 will control that display. Display button 2 will control your center display, and then these buttons right here will control your trip A and trip B information, as well as you can reset both of those, trip A and trip B, by pressing that reset button. So going throughout our gauge cluster. You got your RPM gauge, you have your speedometer, fuel gauge, as well as your coolant temperature gauge. You guys can see that this thing is kind of lit up like a Christmas tree. That is because the adaptive air ride suspension has been unplugged and replaced with coilovers. So basically when you guys unplug that, or this has been unplugged, basically it set off all those lights. However, there's not any issues with this vehicle. It's just all those lights came on when the adaptive air ride suspension was disconnected. So that's about it for that screen. This is to brighten or dim your gauge cluster if that's something that you guys wanted to do. This is your driver temperature control. Over here you have your passenger temperature control. Let's go throughout this screen. So this is your infotainment screen, and you do get built-in navigation with a backup camera and Bluetooth. That comes with the ultra luxury package. So yeah, you guys can navigate throughout the screen. You guys can go to your navigation stuff. So I'll show you guys what that looks like. You guys can see it's basically navigation from 2005. You can enter your destination. You can go into the menu, so you can go to volume, select user, all these different things. You can go into options. You can then go into information, or you can go into display, where you can adjust the contrast, the brightness, and stuff like that. You can also turn the screen off, which is what the owner says he does when he drives this vehicle the majority of the time. But if you guys want to access like the climate control stuff, you do unfortunately have to go throughout the screen. So press the climate button, and then that will display on screen, and you guys can adjust the climate to your liking. The only physical buttons that you really have when it comes to the climate control is like this off button, this auto button, your recirculating or like fresh air button, as well as your front defroster and your temperature controls. But other than that, you have to adjust that throughout the screen, all those other different things. But I'm not going to go really throughout that screen too much. You get your time up top here and stuff like that. You do get an auto dimming rear view mirror, which is very nice considering, again, this is a vehicle from 2005. Volume knob, this is all your different media controls throughout here. The owner of this particular LS said he did get a Grom audio Bluetooth transmitter, which he said, I believe he put in like throughout this screen, and anytime you switch to like the CD media menu, it will connect your phone to the Bluetooth audio, so you can play Bluetooth music over the radio system, which is pretty cool and a nice feature if you guys want to you know, get that for your Lexus LS. I'll have one of those linked in the description box down below with an Amazon link. Moving down here, you have your suspension controls, which none of these suspension controls here are, you know, working on this vehicle because this one's on coilovers. But you can go into sport mode, normal mode, and you can adjust the height of the air ride suspension. And then you got these different buttons, so you have like snow mode and stuff like that as well. Pretty cool. And then we'll go back down to here. So you have a rear window shade. So if I press that, the rear window shade will pop open. I think he said if I put it into reverse, that window shade automatically goes down, which it does indeed do that, which is pretty cool. This is your traction control on or off button. This is like your rear seat. So if you have like your rear headrests up, which I guess I can do right here, you can see the headrest is going up. And I can also recline the seat, which I'm not going to do at the moment. But if I press this button, the seat will go back into its original position. So if you need an automatic button to do that, this would be the button that you would press. And then you get a light button. And then one thing that's also really cool on a vehicle from 2005 is that you do get heated and ventilated seats at all four corners, which is insane on a vehicle, again, from 2005, especially considering now, you know, for 2023 that this vehicle costs, you know, $10,000. That's pretty insane. But let's go back throughout this screen, or throughout this thing. You get your thing to, you know, light up a cigarette or whatever, and then you get a little holder right there. You also have another holder on this side as well. Pretty cool. Put that back in. Obviously, you have your gear shifter. If you guys put it into drive and flip it over to the left, that will put you into sport mode, but we're not going to be doing that quite at the moment. And then this is your center fold down armrest, which I think is locked at the moment. But opening this up, you have two cup holders. So you might have been like, hey, you know, this vehicle is great and all, but where are the cup holders? Push on that and the cup holders will come out, and you have two cup holders in the center. Here is your glove box. It is a lockable glove box. Very good amount of storage space in there. I'm actually surprised at the amount of storage space in there. Now, one thing that I thought was pretty interesting is that everybody except the front passenger get memory seat adjustment settings, which is pretty funny. So driver gets it, and then the 2 rear passengers get the memory seat adjustment settings, but the front passenger does not get the memory seat adjustment settings, which is pretty funny. Obviously, again, I said auto dimming rear view mirror. You got a great spot. You can set your sunglasses. Pulling back on this will open up the sunroof. So you can see sunroof is opening up, and then you can tilt the sunroof by pressing on that button right there. So I like how the sunroof is automatically closing and opening. And again, pressing on this will tilt the sunroof up like that. I guess I can do it. So now sunroof's tilting. You can close it just like that. Again, you have a universal garage door opener. You get a vanity mirror with a vanity light. One thing that's pretty cool also is that you get a suede headliner, which is pretty insane on a vehicle like this. Pretty sweet. So many different seat controls for your front driver seat, for your front passenger seat, and for your rear seats, which I'll show you guys that now. Take a look at this. So taking a look at the controls right here, obviously you have the forward, backward, up and down stuff. You also have a thigh extension by the push of this button, and then if I push up on that, watch what happens. See how the headrest is going up automatically? You can also push that down. So I think that's pretty cool. And then you have a bunch of different lumbar controls right here, which is pretty sweet. And then also for the rear passengers, if you want to, if you're sitting in this seat and you want this seat to move up, you guys can press on this button right here, and then the seat starts to move forward. You guys can see that. And then you can also push it forward from the top. So now it's going forward like that. So if you guys want to go into the full executive mode in this seat, which I'll get into later on in this video, you guys can push the seat forward by these controls on the passenger seat right here. A couple things I wanted to go over with the different packages that this particular vehicle has been optioned with. So again, this does have the $11,320 ultra luxury package, which I'll put on screen right now. So you do get front and rear climate control seats, parking sensors, both front and rear, navigation with a backup camera and Bluetooth, which a backup camera in 2005 is pretty insane, as well as a 240 watt 11 speaker Mark Levinson sound system, a 4-spoke wood and leather trimmed steering wheel with voice command. You also get headlight washers, soft closed doors, dynamic laser cruise control, adaptive air ride suspension, smart access, rear door shades, power rear seats with memory, rear air conditioner with optical deodorizer, as well as rear swivel reading lamps and rear seat improvement package, which I'm not sure what comes with that package personally, but maybe I can find it and put it on screen. As well as the only other option on this particular one, besides like the wheel locks and stuff like that, is the $2,100 interior upgrade package with black semi-aniline leather trim. So this is a very nice vehicle, but I do want to move into those rear seats because honestly, that's the best part of this vehicle. So let's skip into that now. All right, well now we are in the most comfortable or the best seat in the entire vehicle. And again, I can move this forward even more than it already is. And you guys can see how much leg room I have now. And I can get that to go even more, but I have my backpacks and stuff like that. So look at the amount of leg room I have in this seat right here. Again, guys, this is a $10,000 vehicle. And look what I have, boom. I have a vanity mirror. Okay, I guess this one doesn't work. But over here, you get a vanity mirror with a vanity light so you guys can look at yourself before you walk into a business meeting. Here are those reading lamps that I was talking about that swivel. So you can move them this way, you can move them that way, this way, that way, stuff like that. HVAC vent up in the roof, which is pretty freaking sweet. You get your memory seat controls right here, automatic up and down windows in the rear, as well as here is your window shade. So you get a window shade for right here, as well as the quarter door, or as well as the quarter window also gets a rear window shade, which is insane. That's really, really sweet. And then again, you do get that rear window shade for the trunk, which is really, really awesome. And then down here, you get a 12-volt outlet, whereas he has a 12-volt thing plugged in, and you get 2 USB-A ports. You get a seat back pocket behind the passenger seat as well as behind the driver's seat. Really, this is the best seat in the vehicle. So you do get massaging seats back here, so we can turn them on by pressing on that. Now my back is getting massaged. I mean, come on, this is a $10,000 vehicle and you have massaging seats that still work. So the owner actually made a funny comment. So this is the only luxury, ultra luxury vehicle from 20 years ago that all the features still work on it. And you know, I can't find a more true statement to describe this vehicle, because go look at a 20-year-old BMW, go look at a 20-year-old Mercedes S-Class, and see if all the features work, because I guarantee you that they don't. And that's what separates the Lexus from the BMWs and the Mercedes. Everything still works. So again, pressing on this button right here, watch what happens. You can see that headrest goes up, power, and then if I press that down, goes back down with the push of a button. And then I can also recline these rear seats by the push of this button right here. So watch what happens when I push like this. See how the seat starts to recline? I mean, that's just insane. I mean, that just makes this seat even more comfortable than it already was. Now I'm going to bring it back into its original position. I mean, and it's still pretty comfortable. So to have reclining rear seats, I mean, that's insane. With memory and massaging functions, it's crazy. And then you also get heated and ventilated rear seats, which is even crazier to me, which you can control by these two switches right here. So that's ventilated. And then you twist it all the way to the right, and that's heated. And then in the middle is off. And then pressing on this button, the rear shade will go down. And then if I press that button again, this button again, press that button again, the shade comes back up. I mean, that's just insane. Then you also get a cooler back here if you guys want to bring some Gatorade or beers, which actually it is legal where I live to have an open container in the back, so you guys could set a couple cans of beer back there and you'd be totally fine, or soda, whichever one you want to do. Very good amount of storage space in here. You get 2 cup holders, which is pretty sweet, so you can just have that open. And then if you guys want that closed, you get a nice fold down armrest that is padded and leather wrapped. You can also control the media functions from these rear seats as well. So you can see right now it's on CD. I can switch the mode into AM. So right now it's on AM. You can switch it to FM, and then you can go back into FM2, turn that back to CD, which we are on now, and then you can turn the volume up, the volume down for your audio controls. You can turn the whole system off by the push of that button, and then yeah, you can also control the HVAC stuff back here. So you can do high, low, AC, off, auto, stuff like that. I mean, it's just absolutely insane. And that is why this is the best car that you guys can buy for $10,000. It's super comfortable, super luxurious. It's super reliable. I mean, it really doesn't get much better than this for $10,000. You know, this one has 200,000 miles on it. And yes, the air ride suspension did go out at about 150, but you throw a set of coilovers on it, you know, that might cost you, you know, $1,000, $1,500 but then you're golden again for, you know, another 200,000 miles. So really, really nice vehicle. I love the reliability. I love how comfortable it is. The leather feels super nice, and the way that it drives is also fantastic as well. So, you know, we've talked about the exterior, we've talked about the performance, and now we've talked about what's going on here in the interior. So I want to see what this thing's like to drive, as I'm assuming you guys do as well. So I will see you guys in the driver's seat. All right, guys, and now on to the driving portion of the review. And the first thing that I wanted to say is that even though this is a $10,000 vehicle now, you guys got to remember that 20 years ago, this was a $70,000+ vehicle, which in today's money again is $110,000. So again, even though it is a $10,000 vehicle now, it is still really, really nice. So I'm going to give you guys a little bit of time, like maybe 10-15 seconds of me not talking, and you guys can hear it. There might be a couple, you know, maybe little occasional creaks and rattles and stuff like that, but just take a listen and listen to how quiet it rides, how quiet the engine is, and stuff like that. I mean, that's just, it's pretty crazy to me, because I have a 2007 Honda Ridgeline, and I know comparing a Honda to a Lexus here, which you can't do, but mine definitely has a lot more creaks and rattles, and we have, you know, very similar mileage. I might have like 15,000 miles more, but still, you know, you can see that the Lexus, you know, build quality is just a little bit better than the Honda build quality. Now, another thing I wanted to say is this one has 195,000 miles on it, which, you know, you're going to be looking at one for under $10,000 that has, you know, around 180 to 200,000 miles on it. But with 195,000 miles on it, the transmission still shifts buttery smooth. I mean, engagement of the transmission in first gear is phenomenal. It's like you can't even feel it. And then also just like having it downshift when you guys need it to, when you guys need passing power and stuff like that, it's still very, very crisp, and it's very luxurious feeling. I know that's funny, you're like, the transmission is luxurious feeling, but yes, it is. Just the way that it, let's just watch it shift. For this thing being an older 6-speed, it shifts fantastic, you know what I mean? Like, you can't even feel the shifts. And again, that's because this, back in the day, was a $70,000+ vehicle. So this is rivaling the Mercedes S-Class. This is rivaling the BMW 7 Series. The only difference is, you know, this is a Lexus, and it might not have had like all the super fancy features that you'd find on like a BMW or a Mercedes, but really 20 years later, that doesn't matter, because 90% of the features that you'd find on like those Mercedeses and those BMWs, they're not working now unless you guys really spend a lot of money to keep those features working. Which is nice about the Lexus is Lexus prioritizes reliability and functionality over like the fancy features that you would find on like the BMWs and the Mercedes. You know, features that at that time were really, really good, but now, you know, 20 years later, it really doesn't matter if the car had them or not, because, you know, they're outdated by this point. So that's what I like. That 911 looked phenomenal, by the way. But, you know, it's just, it's a fantastic vehicle between the mix of features and reliability. So this thing has a ton of different features, but, you know, again, 20 years later, majority, like 95% of the features are still working. And you know, that's pretty astounding if you ask me, you know what I'm saying? So this thing rides phenomenal. You know, it feels like 20 years later, it still feels like it is a top-end, top-dog Lexus sedan. I mean, it literally feels like that. It rides phenomenal, even with this coilover suspension. So again, this is a teen coilover suspension, T-I-E-N, I believe is how the owner spelt it. So this is a teen coilover suspension, and this suspension fits this car phenomenally because it rides super smooth on pavement like this, but it also feels like it will handle very well as well. You know, you're not going to be able to rip up a back road and keep up with like Subaru WRX STI, but you'll be surprised at how well this thing will handle on a back road. It's surprised me at how well this thing will go around turns and stuff like that, but it also stays phenomenally composed in just day-to-day driving. So we'll do a little acceleration onto this road. We're not going to do anything crazy, but a little something. Here we go. Doesn't really start building power until you get to, you know, 2,500 RPM. Then it really starts to build power, because low end it is pretty lazy. But also, I am just in drive, I'm not in sport. So let's see if sport gives us any better throttle response. So let's see. Okay, yeah, sport definitely has better throttle response. I noticed that right off of the bat. So let's see. Yeah, for sure, definitely better throttle response in sport mode, obviously, than drive mode. So if you guys want, you know, a little bit extra pep in your step, you might want to drive around in sport mode. However, you know, I haven't had that much time behind the wheel, so I don't know if it's going to hold gears like longer than you would like it to in sport mode, which, you know, most vehicles do. But you know, drive mode is totally fine in day-to-day cruising. If you're just cruising on the highway and stuff like that, drive will be totally fine. But man, this thing, from the driver's perspective, the seat is super, super comfortable. I mean, it's just very easy vehicle to drive because you have that backup camera, which I'm surprised a vehicle from 2005 has a backup camera, but it does. And it's just a phenomenal riding vehicle. Again, even with the coilover suspension, it rides very, very well. You know, fuel economy, from what I see right here, the tank average 14.4 miles per gallon. You know, not the greatest amount of fuel economy. However, you know, you're buying a cheaper vehicle, so you can, you know, you're saving a little bit of money on the front end with buying a cheaper vehicle. So hopefully, you know, you got a little bit of extra money to fill this vehicle up. So you know, maybe not the greatest fuel economy, but you do get a phenomenal ride. You get a phenomenal, you know, engine, because this is a very reliable vehicle, both engine and just powertrain components with the transmission. So very reliable in that sense, and also very reliable in the sense of the different features here on the interior. You know, the buttons, you know, the different mechanisms to move the seat still work. So again, 20 years later, for like this kind of stuff to still be working, that's very, very nice. You know, my first vehicle was my grandfather's old 1999 Mercedes ML320, and when I got that car was, I think it was 18 years old, just like the same age as this. And you know, a few of those different mechanisms in the seats and stuff, they didn't work, or they did work and they felt, you know, they didn't feel premium. Whereas this, 20 years later, still feels premium. It still works. It's still buttery smooth, which in my first car, it was not that. And my grandpa kept that car, you know, very well maintained. So that's just the Lexus difference, you know, longevity wise. They're really, really good. But we're going to do a little on-ramp acceleration here. I'm going to put it into sport mode, and we're going to see how she accelerates onto the highway with the 4.3 liter V8. So I'm going to floor it. And I'm gonna let off. So yeah, you know, not the fastest vehicle in the world, but look, we're cruising 70 miles an hour, and it just cruises like a Lexus should, man. Just such a nice drive. So man, I could definitely see myself doing a long road trip in this car. And it's funny because I believe the owner, before my buddy bought this, he bought this car in Washington State, and he drove it all the way to the DC metro area and then sold it. So he basically bought this thing to move from Washington to drive it all the way to DC, because it's comfortable, it's reliable, and it will get him from point A to point B without a bunch of mechanical issues, which you might not be able to say about a BMW or Mercedes. So overall, fantastic vehicle for $10,000. There's really not much better of a vehicle like this that you guys can buy for $10,000. So let me know if you guys disagree or agree with me in the comments down below. Do you guys know of a better car for $10,000? If you guys do, let me know in the comment section down below. But that's it for today's video. If you guys did enjoy the video, please be sure to give this video a big thumbs up. Please hit that subscribe button. Like I mentioned to you guys, I'm really trying to hit 10,000 subscribers, and I cannot do that without your guys' help. So if you guys would, please give the video a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. But I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.